you have an interest in horses and love learning more about horses, the horse industry, teaching, or even managing your own horse business, then you're in the right place. We would love you to join us on our mission, which is to improve the lives of horses around the world through the education of riders, handlers, and trainers. So get comfortable, listen in, and enjoy.
International Horse College has a mission to improve the welfare of horses around the world through the safe education of their riders, handlers and trainers. International Horse College has been very thorough in the selection of courses for the wide variety of people who already work or are preparing to work within the horse industry. For more information about these government-accredited courses, go to internationalhorsecollege.com. Now, today at Horse Chats, we've got Jochen Schleese back, and we haven't talked to Jochen for a while. The last time I talked to him was actually before COVID, so we're sort of talking about a market update today, and I'm going to ask him questions about just the changing economical picture in the saddle industry. Now, Jochen, are you there? How are you?
I'm very good, Glenys, and how are you?
Yeah, well, Jochen, and looking forward to chatting to you. A lot's changed in the last 2 years, so if you could give us a little bit of a rundown, a bit of an overview, just about how things have changed within the saddle industry.
Yes, as you know from my previous chat with you.
Yeah, not just one chat, many chats, and if listeners would like to go back and listen, I've been talking to Jochen for, a few years now about, saddles, saddle fitting, and, Jochen is a bit unique because he fits saddles differently for females to males, and that's sort of a bit of a new concept when he started that. But anyway, go back, just search for Jochen, search for Schleese on horsechats.com and you'll find all those details. I think number 357 was the first time we talked to Jochen. So go back and listen to that one. Have a look at the page there, and down the bottom you'll find links to all these other chats. Sorry, Jochen, I interrupted there, but please go on and tell us about this changing economical picture.
Yeah, no worries. As I was saying, I talked to you now several times, and one of the interviews we talked where we run a saddle manufacturing company in Canada, as well one in Germany, and I also run an educational company, Saddle Fit for Life, where I was teaching on 5 continents. So, of course, with COVID, many things have changed, and in all my companies, we have seen, and I'm sure all the question writers have seen quite a bit of change. And if I look at the silver lining on the cloud, one thing has definitely come to fruition, that my dream came true, that I can help way more people now than I ever could in my educational company as well as in my manufacturing companies. So that's, as I said, the silver lining on the cloud, that COVID actually has given me the time on project what I worked for 7 years on and off. But due to my travels, I never really had the chance to finish the individual products, which came just in time out for COVID. So I think most people, and I can definitely speak for North American, it doesn't matter if it's the Americans or the Canadians or the Germans in Europe and other countries, they were limited with traveling. So people couldn't go anywhere. So what we have seen, an insane amount increase in the equestrian industry. And when I talk to my trainers, I talk to barn owners, they're all experiences overwhelming business because people can't get out of the country. So what do they do when they can't travel? So they spend now their time in the sport they always wanted to do, which is very costly. So for COVID, wherever I turn, I have in all the countries I've been seen a huge amount of increase because of people couldn't get out of the country, so they spent their money with the equestrian industry. Have you find that too, Glenda?
I have actually, yeah. We do the online college, okay? So we have countries all around the world. We specialise in a different part of the equestrian industry, and I know that you specialise in the saddlery and the saddle fitting, I've found that people do have a bit more money in some countries. I think we're very lucky in Australia that our economy is ramping along and we're going well. I know some other countries aren't going so well. They don't have the amount of ready cash to spend on horses and the horse industry. But it's certainly changed within the last 2 years, that it's changing economy, And I think people have different priorities. They start to think about what they really want. And if you think about people and what they really want, a lot of people think, if I won $1 million tomorrow, I'd just give up work and just ride all day. Well, that's the sort of people are thinking, well, what's stopping me spending more time with my horse and more time doing the things that I want to do? So I think COVID has changed us and made us realise a little bit more about what's important within our life. It's not just all work, 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 but what's really important. It's more about lifestyle now rather than just working. Yeah.
100%. I mean, we have, of course, the competitive riders. There were for a long time no horse shows, and then we have the professionals who don't compete, but they teach riding lessons. They have in the beginning where there was a social distancing, the owners didn't come and they had more horses to ride than they possibly could do. And then we have the adult amateur rider who was, like you said, finally I can spend time with my horse. And then we have a massive amount of new people who have never sat on the horse, but says, I always wanted to ride, but now I have time to ride. So we've seen the huge increase.
Yes, I think so. I think, as I said, the lifestyle and the fact that people aren't travelling, even just not travelling into their jobs every day. Instead of spending an hour each way travelling into their jobs, they've now got 2 hours spare that they can go for a ride, take time out, take a deep breath, enjoy themselves. And when you talk about enjoyment and lifestyle, well, horses come to the forefront there. Yeah. And also too, serious competitive riders, instead of thinking, I've got to get ready for the competition this weekend, they can take a little bit more of a longer term view of the horse, spend a bit more time working on the basics rather than the basics foundation. Not that they, focusing on any little hiccups that might come through in the training rather than preparing for the competition that weekend. So, I think there's been, even though it's been a tragic event for lots of people and has ruined, a lot of lives and a lot of livelihoods, I think that, being an optimist, we've got to look at the good things that have come out of it and embrace those things as we move forward.
Yes, that's why I was calling it the silver lining on the cloud.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Right. So, and I think one of the things you said, you were online, and we finally have the same. Our Saddle Fit for Life is online, and it's growing rapidly because people have the time now to learn, what does my saddle need to do? What does my saddle fitter need to know? What do I need to know to protect my horse from long-term damage? And having expanded Saddle Fit for Life with various courses, it has, of course, helped me personally, because I used to travel around the world all the time, which is not good on my system or the carbon footprint. If you think about it, how much time I spend flying all over the world. So now I can reach way more people. And like you have from all over the world students. And that is, again, a blessing in the sky, because now clients can educate themselves. Clients can actually go and say, okay, I have a saddle fitting appointment. What can I expect? What should they know? Because I can tell you, I've been to so many different associations, and there is so many misinformation out there that the average rider is totally confused. I have a good example. There was a new association in England, and that says we have in England 6 different saddle fitting associations. Now, in England, where everything comes from, the English riding, right? They have 6 different saddle fitting associations, and they don't align. So they want to now come to a common language, and this is what Saddle Fit for Life's dream is, that we speak one language when it comes to saddle fitting, worldwide like we speak English worldwide. I've spent time in Russia at the World Cup soccer. I spoke English. I went to Brazil for the World Cup soccer. I spoke English. With English, you get everywhere around. So why can we not, when it comes to saddle fitting, speak a universal language which is based on the anatomy of the horse, anatomy of the rider, and that's fact. This is not an opinion. Now, the piece in between you, is it a racing saddle? Is it a Western saddle? An Australian stock saddle? An English riding saddle? It doesn't matter. You have two beings coming together, and why can we not say, if the saddle sits here, and again, doesn't matter what saddle, your horse will have long-term damage. If the saddle fits you like this, doesn't matter, male or female, you will have long-term damage. Now, when we have these facts, we have these hardcore facts. We got different university papers, right? That is not based on saddle companies. Why can we not all listen to that? And I think with having this online, now having customers learn themselves, a small course for free, a bigger course for a little bit more money, a bigger course for bigger money. It depends how much money each individual wants to spend. They can go to the itty-bitty detail with online, and then we have in Australia a head trainer for the practical part. We have pretty much in all continents a head trainer. But knowing that you're from Australia, I thought I'd throw that in there.
Now, within the, and again, thinking about saddle fitting, have there been changes in the market trends? Is there any sort of new products? I know you've talked about the new service of the online training, but new products, market trends, how have things changed since the last time we caught up, which has been 2 years ago? A bit over 2 years ago. Yeah,
Yes,
over 2 years.
yes.
Yeah, yep. How have things changed?
So Glenys, what changed tremendously is that we have a virtual custom fit system now. So people say, how in the world can you actually fit a saddle online? I mean, everybody who has a smartphone with Face ID can actually now, with your telephone, take a laser image of your horse's back, and that can be sent to any saddlery who has that program to manufacture a saddle online. So let's say you have now a saddle received. What about your horse change? Or what about you have the saddle and it didn't quite work out? You now take your phone with FaceTime, it's free, and while somebody holds that phone and you're speaking in your phone and says, this is what I have, the saddle fitter can now instruct you what to do on your saddle. There's 12 elements to the saddle, such as the billets, the panels, the tree, and various other points, where the customer can basically adjust their saddle with their saddle fitter on the phone. What does that mean? That means less carbon footprint. Why? Because you're not driving in the car and burn all this expensive fuel. If you looked at the news, the oil barrel is over $130. It's getting crazy right now. So isn't that nice? With this rising cost, it's already hard as is for an equestrian to maintain a horse. It's so expensive. So the last thing you want to do is drive around and pay saddle fitters. If there is now a product, you can do it with a FaceTime, with a phone, anywhere in the world. And that is what, again, is another silver lining. I was able, with being grounded, I couldn't fly anywhere, to finish my 7-year project. It's done on the racing saddle, it's done on the Western saddle, it's done on any English saddle. So the market it's wide open now, and the customer is not desperate to ride in ill-fitting saddles because they live maybe in an area where no saddle fitter can come. It's now solved. The problem is snow from yesterday.
It's convenience, isn't it? And even just getting a horse, putting it in a float or a trailer, taking it somewhere, you could spend half a day just looking at getting your saddle fitted, or longer if you live further away from the saddle fitter, or even the saddle fitter that's got to travel. Much more convenient. How has that changed economically? Has the price gone down now to get your saddle fitted, or, is that part of the service of getting a new saddle to get that done. The economic considerations is what I'm looking at.
Yeah. Actually, the prices are going up steady, because
This is
of
generally
gas
in saddles.
prices.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like a steady going up.
Uh-huh.
And what is also going up steady is the knowledge from the body workers, the veterinarians,
Yes.
the people who understand, oh my God, this problem, the horse is lame, it comes from the back, check the saddle. So, and of course, the veterinarians or the body workers, and I mean the osteopaths, physiotherapists, massage therapists, etc., PP, they are saying, I got to know myself a little bit about saddle fitting, so I can say a little bit more, check the saddle. And wouldn't you know that darn saddle sits sideways because the horse is crooked or the rider? Or wouldn't you know the saddle is too long? It sits on the lung meridian point, what causes stress, and we all know stress only causes ulcer on the horse and cancer and colic. Wouldn't you know the saddle is too long and pushes in the back of the horse? All these things, the body workers now say, you need to saddle fit. So you have two professionals. One are the body workers and the veterinarians who say your horse is lame or has the problem because of the saddle. And then the saddle fitters, that's the other group who says you need to saddle fit it. So the poor consumer gets to hear it now from all the sides. And now, if you read articles, they say 3-4 times fitting a saddle a year. That's super expensive. And then with the rising cost of gas, how in the world can anybody afford it? Let's say it's $250 fit your saddle. That's $1,000 a year for fitting your saddle if you fit it 4 times. But, Glenys, for me as a competitive rider, was one of the biggest problems I always had. When I needed my saddle the most?
When?
Before the biggest competition.
Yep.
Or when a veterinarian was there and says, your saddle doesn't fit, get it fixed. And then I call a fitter and he couldn't come for 3-4 months, 4 weeks. And then what am I going to do? I pay this expensive rent, I feed my horse, and I can't ride. And do I really want to ride knowing this horse is hurting from my saddle? So when I need a fitter, he is not available right away. So with this new virtual custom fit system, guess what, Glenys? You can fit it as many times as you want, any given time. So you don't have to rely on when they come. And by the 4th, 5th time, you figure this out yourself. You don't need them anymore. So do the math. That saddle should be $20,000, but it isn't, right? Because if you could save, let's say you only do 4 adjustments a year, you can save $1,000 a year, and a saddle lasts a minimum of 15, if not 20 years. Okay, that's $20,000 you save on that saddle. And in these days, with all these veterinarians and chiropractors who know how saddle fitting is so important, why would I buy a saddle what cost me so much money in fitting it when I get a saddle where I can learn it myself like it was in the old days when the cowboy, the soldier, the horseman knew exactly what to do on the saddle? Let's face it, you and I talk around halfway around the world, all the way around the world, the other side of the world. And we talk like we're sitting beside each other. I mean, technology came a long, long way, and not just in telephones.
Yeah. I think also a couple of points there. I understand about the 4 times a year, because you bring a horse in that's been out for, maybe a couple of months, but maybe longer if they've had an injury or some reason to be out. And if they've been out just walking around the paddock, having an odd trot or canter around, but not actually an athlete, not in work, their back's different. So you'd need to get the saddle fitted when you first bring them in, and then you start to work them and they get stronger and fitter, and that muscle structure can change quite considerably during that 12-month period. So I can understand about the constant need to have the saddle fitted correctly to the horse, to the muscle structure he has right now. Using this, system through the phone as well. So there's a convenience there and the changing, but also too for body workers and vets, if they see that there's a lameness or a problem caused with the saddle, if they learn that system, that's just a complementary system that they can add to their knowledge, that they can see that the lameness is caused from the saddle, or there's a problem there that's related to the horse's back. Let's have a look at the saddle. Let's see how it fits. I think it's got to save money, because you're not getting out the saddle fitter and the body worker. And even if you did, if the body worker or the vet had to get online and talk to someone, they're working together to work the problem out, rather than saying, well, you better
100%.
get this saddle fitted, and then you get someone else, and then you're sort of talking between them, but they're not actually talking together. I think this is a great system.
And you know what? You hit the nail on the head, because horses are like super, super fragile animals. I had all my life horses, and they can get hurt so fast. And sometimes they're lame and you can't ride them, and sometimes you're on a rehab program, and when a horse has an owie leg, they're kind of protected a little bit. And when you come back from rehab, and the veterinarian or the body worker says, you can only go walk, or you can only do a little work, what do you think the horse does? Compensates for it. And then when your saddle falls off to one side because it compensates, then you make the problem worse again. So on the one hand, you need to ride. On the other hand, you can't ride because the saddle doesn't fit. So this system lets you do an orthopedic adjustment, which means, like you said, with the body worker right there and then, you can adjust the saddle so it doesn't fall to one side. It's immediately adjusted with the, let's say they say on this muscle here is super, super sore. There cannot be any pressure. And together with the phone, the saddle fitter can walk you through and help you to the adjustment. So the body worker says, yeah, perfect. And Glenys, it has been done so many times where the rider says, oh my God, now that my horse has a saddle what is orthopedic adjusted, he's not lame anymore. And once he recovers and he carries himself straight, you do another adjustment. And data doesn't lie. We have gait analysis, we got heart monitors, we have computerized saddle pads, and this has been, as I said, over the 7 years done. And many people say to me, Jochen, why would you do something like that? You get yourself out of business, because aren't you in business of fitting saddles? Okay, let's do the math. Let's say I only sell 10 saddles a year, and it needs to be fitted now that so many vets and body worker and even horse owner recognize at least 3 to 4 times. Let's say 4 times. Now I have 40 new clients next year I need to service. So more saddles I sell, so more I have to service. So what does that tell you? It's not sustainable. So you either, as a manufacturer or as a saddle maker, don't sell saddles, or you don't service. So if you say, well, forget the saddle fitters, forget the manufacturers, let's focus on the fitters. The fitters are always overworked. The fitters never have enough time to get there. And it takes a long, long time to really be good at this. And then they burn out. And why do they burn out? Because they're not fast enough. It costs too much. It's a not sustainable business. So this product is way overdue due to the facts I just mentioned.
Jochen, what is the name of the app?
So the app is called Horse Shape. I can send you a link, and
Please,
then maybe
yeah.
you can add that.
Horse Safe, is it?
Horse Shape, yeah.
Horse Shape, yep. Okay. Yeah, please. And send the link, and we'll put that at the bottom of the page as well, just so if people would like to have a look at it, contact Jochen, download the app, they'll be able to do that.
Yeah, and then the saddle itself, called a Virtual Custom Fit System. It comes in jumping and dressage and in Western. So they can go on our line and just type it in, VCFS. So that stands for Virtual Custom Fit System. And it shows all the different way how the saddle can adjust it. Now, I know your listeners will say right now, oh my God, adjustable saddles have been around for years. Yeah, but none of them can do orthopedic adjustment. None of them can do the tree width independently from the tree angle and vice versa. That's alone 3 there, and none of them have 12 adjustments. If you just change the gullet plate, there's various companies who do it. You change one thing. You change the angle. But we know everything has an action as a positive, negative reaction. So if I change the tree width, the saddle will be lower in the front. Now the saddle is off balance. So how do I do the flocking? So it's hard to explain over the phone, but definitely worth to check it out online. I sent you that link as well, Glenys.
Please, yes,
So
yes.
it explains it very easy how system works.
Jochen, have you got any tips for just countering the effects of rising prices? Because we want to be able to keep riding and keep our horse happy and healthy. Any tips for that?
Okay, so my recommendation is we got to know our partner. Okay, I'm going to give you a comparison. If I want to ballroom dance with somebody, I need to know what level they are. I need to lead them properly, and in order for us to be a good dancing partner. And I use ballroom dancing because what we do with our horses, we are a pair. We trust each other. And in ballroom dancing, the male does the lead and the woman does the picture. In horseback riding, the rider is the lead and the horse is the picture. So how does the horse understand the leads, the commands, the communication from the rider? Is it with pain, with whips, spurs, and voice? Or is it with my seat? My seat is my weight. How am I implement the aid through the saddle to the horse? So in order to continue to ride, I need to know that the horses have 32 growth plates. Repeat that. 32 growth plates on the horse's spine. The shoulder blade develops when the horse is 4 years old. In racing, we start horses with 19 months, and in the Western maturity class, same time. So they start the horse as babies. So compare that to humans. If you give an 8-year-old way too heavy stuff to carry, what will happen to their backs and growth plates? Okay? So if you want to ride for a long time, understand when do the growth plates finish on the horse. The shoulder blade, very important with saddles, at 4 years. And on the spine, the 32 growth plates on the spine, not until they're 6. Some of them at 7.5. So there's an old general rule, comes back from the cavalry army. When you have a horse, don't start riding it. Don't hate me if you're in the Western world of racing. That's what they say. Don't start riding until they're 3 years old. And then only ride 3 times a week. And ride a 4-year-old 4 times a week. And then 5-year-old 5 times a week, 6-year-old 6 times a week. And the other time you do a lot of stuff from the ground. So if you have given the horse to mature properly, there also is a rule written in several soldiers' handbooks. The soldier should never weigh more than 20%, including their saddle and their gear, of the horse's weight. Now, we have a huge problem in the States. I haven't seen it anywhere else as much as in the United States, where the rider is way more than 20%. Okay, so if you want to ride longer and healthy, respect the law of nature, and the horse will last a long time. For yourself, riding is a sport. If I want to do a healthy and long time skiing, but I have no muscle in my legs and I'm very weak and I don't do any, I'm not fit, I will crash very badly skiing. And same with riding. If I'm not fit, and as older I'm getting, I'm 60 now, and I notice it takes a little longer to get out of bed, and my joints are very stiff. What is actually happening with with us when we get older. The joints let out, our muscle holds us together, and that's what we feel is stiff. So if you want to ride a long, long time, look after yourself. You have to be fit, not just nutrition, but also do yoga or other sports on the side. Then you will ride your horse for a long, long, long time.
Jochen, if people would like to find out a bit more about horse shape, we can put the links on the bottom of your page at horsechats.com. But if they'd like to contact you direct, they can go to Saddle Fit for Life. What's the best place to get the contact details?
The contact info is very simple. It's js@schleese.com.
Okay.
Right?
And just spell Schleese for us.
SCHLEESE.com.
Great. Those details, if you did miss that spelling, will be on horsechats.com, so you can contact Jochen just to talk a little bit more about saddle fitting for your horse. If you'd like to do the education that he's got so that you can become a saddle fitter, or if you'd like to just learn a little bit more about saddle fitting for your own horse and the app and how you can get some saddle fitting done online at a convenient time for you, just go ahead and contact him about that. Jochen, great to talk to you. And, just in 2 short years, you've certainly been doing a lot and the industry's changed quite a lot. I know that a lot of industries have, but great that we've got people like you that keep pushing the boundaries and thinking, right, well, what else can we do? When we look at the basics of it all, it's all about the horse welfare. And I appreciate that, you consider the horse welfare as high a priority as I do. So thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay, great to talk to you, and I'd like to talk to you again soon.
Same here. Bye-bye,
Okay.
Glenn.
Bye-bye.
If you've enjoyed this chat, then please comment, rate and subscribe. If you'd like any changes or recommendations for guests, then please contact us through horsechats.com. And while you're online, have a look at the government-accredited courses at internationalhorsecollege.com. Registered Training Organisation 31352.
Remember that our comments and instructions are general in nature and do not take into consideration your individual horses or your individual ability and circumstances. If you enjoyed this podcast, then please leave your comment below.